Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's been a while, but I'm finally out at a new park with some of the highest mountains in the province. Today I'm just hiking up this trail, scouting it out for sunrise tomorrow. I'm going back to the lake where I was yesterday for sunset. And in this video I wanted to talk about a bit of a trick. It's more like a method. It's my process of how I go about finding compositions. So let me just walk up this trail and I'll tell you all about it. So what really helped me finding compositions and just getting your brain, warming up your brain for when you get to that final destination is actually something I like to call scene size up. And it's exactly how it sounds. It's just looking at what's around you. And it's a terminology I took from my full-time profession, which is firefighting. And when you're at fire school, you learn about scene size up. Basically, you arrive on scene, you do a 360 around the building, you're looking for the windows, the doors, stuff like that. So you're just gathering all this information. And landscape is pretty much the same thing. You're walking up the trail and you're just gathering all this information. You're looking at how the light interacts with the landscape, all the different elements. Is there flowers? So it just basically warms up your brain for when you get up there. You feel inspired and you know what to look for because you went through that process. So it's not about getting up there the fastest and then taking out your tripod and just taking a picture. It's really observation. That's what it really comes down to, is really walking and actually taking your time. I'm taking so much time walking up this trail. So many people are passing me. And that's why I like sunset for this process, because you get to see where you're walking. I'm not saying sunrise is bad, it's just you don't see much when you're walking up at sunrise, and you get up there and you feel all panicked because you don't know exactly what to look for. So scene size up is pretty important, and it's all about observation.
So something that really helps me on my compositions throughout the day is just to take a couple quick handheld shots just to get myself warmed up. And here I was just happy to see a bit of clouds after a couple days of just blue skies.
So since the beginning of the trail, I've probably seen at least a dozen of these moose poo piles. So this park is famous for moose, and apparently there's tons of them. So I always have to look at where I'm walking, make sure I'm not stepping in the poo. Hopefully I see one today. That'd be pretty cool.
So an important thing to know about scene size up, it's actually a really long process. So for firefighting, it starts way before when you get on scene. It's when you're driving to work and you might see, is there a snowstorm, or is it hot outside? Is somebody gonna get heat stroke? Is the roads wet and slippery? Is there gonna be a car accident? So this is all information you're gathering throughout the day until you get on scene, and then you have to come up with a plan. And landscape photography, it's the same thing. You're walking up the trail, you're getting all this information. It actually starts when you're at home researching on Google Maps or Google Earth. And an application that I really like is called All Trails. And it basically shows you all the trails in the world. I'm not sure, but at least for North America, it shows a lot of trails. And it's cool because you can see the trail, the length, the elevation gain, but there's also pictures. People walk up these trails and they take pictures along the way, and then they upload it to the app. So you can actually see what the trail looks like before you even get there. So it just, again, inspires you. And I believe that the more you're inspired, the better chance you'll find a composition, because you're more invested into landscape photography. All right, guys, so I made it to the top here and it looks amazing. I have views, 360 view of this whole park here. Oh man, this looks amazing. Let me show you guys. Let me just walk up this little wooden thing here. Oh, wow, look at this. It's amazing. Look at that. 360. Absolutely amazing.
All right, so once you get to your location, you're still doing scene size up. Just take your time, look at all the different foreground, look at all the different midground, the background, the landscape, and just be mindful of how your eye moves across or moves or scans the landscape. You want to find some depth, obviously, so foreground, midground, and background. You want to find some shapes that'll make it easy for the eye to move across the composition. So it's all about being mindful about that when you're looking at the landscape. Just be mindful of how your eye interacts with the landscape, because at the end of the day, your composition, your image the flow of your image is gonna matter. So just be mindful of that and just really take your time. The first thing that really caught my attention was this nice curvy log, and I took at least a dozen test shots just trying to figure out the best possible angle. I do come back to this foreground, so if you want to see the final image, make sure to stick around to the end.
All right, so I was just at that viewpoint, but I decided to keep walking the trail because it's a loop, and I just wanted to see what this side had to offer. And there's a couple things that I really like on this side. There's a tree out here somewhere. I don't know if you guys can see it. I think it's this one there. It's got a nice shape to it, and I think it'll make a nice subject for sunset if there's nice color in the sky. We don't see the big mountains if I just zoom in to that tree, but at least I got like a backup shot or a decent shot here. And then I really want to try to include the trail as a leading line. And I never done this. I never used the trail in my shots, but I guess today's the day. It's I mean, I can't get off the trail to find some foreground, so why not use the trail for the foreground, and then it leads up to these nice snow-covered mountains over here.
All right, so I decided to set up my camera to get that trail shot I was talking about earlier. Right now my settings, I'm around 40 millimeters. I'm at 100th of a second to freeze the motion of the branches, and that in turn caused me to bump up my ISO to ISO 500. I'm at f11, and I can get the whole frame, the whole scene in focus with f11. And one of the things I always do when I'm composing my images is I'm using my grid. So there's three grids in this Sony camera, and I'm always using the one with the diagonal lines. And as you can see here, I'm using it for the trail. So the trail's following that line, leading up all the way up to that rock. So, and then I just have to make sure everything was tidy up here. I might crop just a tiny bit on this side of the frame, but that's pretty much it. I'm just making sure that line's following the trail. If you're enjoying the video or you appreciate all the hard work I put into making this video, please hit that like button. It's the best way you can help me out. And make sure to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss any of the upcoming adventures.
All right, so I went back to that viewpoint to change my lens because I was using the wall to protect my sensor from the wind. And that's always a good tip, right? Is always to point your camera down when you're changing lenses and try to find anything, use anything to your advantage to shield yourself, shield the camera from the wind. So I decided to use, put my 55 1.8 lens because this tree right here, I really like the shape and the texture, but there's a little hole, and I'm gonna align myself so we see through the hole. I'm gonna use a shallow depth of field. That's why I decided to use this lens. And I'm just gonna make the background all blurry because I just want the texture of this dead tree. So I'm gonna set up the tripod and we'll see what happens. All right, so thanks to my method, my scene size up, I've been here for a good, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. I've scouted the whole area. This log I've seen right at the beginning, and I knew that I was going to come back to it once the sun was aligned. And as soon as I saw the sun getting close to the horizon, I ran up here, changed my lens where that viewpoint is, and came right in front of this log. And I already practiced my composition, so it was really quick and easy. I really like this shot because there's a lot of depth to it. We have the foreground, and then we have I got one of the mounts here, the closest mount on the right, which is like the mid-ground, and then everything else is just all the mounts in the back of the background. And then that sun just aligned with those little peaks out there. So thanks to the scene size up, I was able to get some good compositions, but not just one, but multiple, because I had a lot of time up here to just scout the whole area. So it's a bit difficult because of the wind, you know, it's the little vegetation's moving everywhere. So it's fast shutter speed, but the light's getting dimmer and dimmer. So the ISO is going up really high. I think last shot I took was I was getting up to 1,000. So I'm gonna try to play with my settings so I don't get that ISO high too high, but I don't really have a choice. So I'm really happy. I think this is going to be a good shot. So here's the image, and hope you guys like it.
Once I was done with this image, I saw that the sun was gonna go below that thick layer of clouds. So I packed everything up and walked back down the trail, and then I found another composition where I pointed my camera up towards the sky because some of those clouds were still catching some beautiful light. So in the next adventure, I'll be going to a different mountain where I get completely soaked. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification. If you want to see my best image of 2022, click or tap on the video here. And until next time, God bless. Thanks for watching.